right, so we have like the full summary here of chapter 1064. We're pretty much going over the full chapter in this video, way more than what we were able to go over in yesterday's video, so let's get into it. Chapter starts with the continuation of Blackbeard versus Law, and it takes up roughly half the chapter. Blackbeard uses a named quake attack, Grash, after being surprised by the fact that Law is now awakened. Law uses several awakening attacks in this chapter, including Shock Will. Answering to Alger's question if they should go back to the ship after Shock Will, Blackbeard says, nonsense, straightforward is the only way, for I am Blackbeard. Doc Q attacked them with apple bombs, but was surprised by Shachi. Last thing we see is Blackbeard using Black Vortex. So yeah, this is pretty awesome actually. Like, we see the extended fight between Blackbeard and Law here, and Law is pretty much defeating Blackbeard. Now, not completely, of course, but this fight is going to comprise of like 2 rounds, I suppose, as we can see here. And in the first round, Law and the Heart Pirates are pretty much winning, surprisingly. And I really like the way that Oda is doing this. I myself, and I'm sure many of us, have counted out the Heart Pirates here. More so the rest of the crew rather than just Law, but the rest of the crew is holding their own here, as we see, but Law is really giving it to Blackbeard. Like, as it says, he's hitting him with the Shock Will, and he's like piercing him right through the chest, similar to what he did against Big Mom. And Blackbeard is even giving like a similar reaction to it that Big Mom did. Like, he definitely is taking like round 1 here, but considering the sequence is ending with Blackbeard using Black Vortex here, I'm assuming he's ultimately going to take the rest of this fight here, because he kind of has to, you know, for the sake of the story going forward. But before we go into the pudding stuff, let's just go more into the dialogue from this sequence. Teach tells Law that he can try to escape if he wants, but that he won't be able to. The guy in Law's pirate heart mask is called Hakugan, and Law orders him to take command of the Polar Tang submarine. Doc Q thinks Stronger is dead when he sees that Law is cut in half. So I'm assuming that Law just used amputate here, not literally cutting him in half, like severing tissue, but using the magical properties of the fruit to like split him. The Heart Pirates are experts at fighting at sea, having been born and raised in the cold waters of the North Blue. Beppo has a very good ear. It is he who tells John Bart where Augur is at 3 o'clock to help Law. Law says that if all of Teach's commanders are devil fruit users, that means that they are weak to water, and Teach tells him that the benefits outweigh the limitation, and that this is the essence of the devil fruit. The Blackbeard Pirates did not expect the Heart Pirates to be so strong at sea, and they fear that they will sink their ship. I mean, they are in a freaking submarine after all, come on. But now let's go into the pudding stuff, because in yesterday's spoilers we found out that Kuzan is in fact working with the Blackbeard Pirates as advertised by the Gorosei, and it was also him that invaded Chocolate Town, froze it over, and kidnapped Pudding for the sake of the Blackbeard Pirates. And we're seeing her on their ship here, and she says if Mama was still alive, there won't ever be another word coming from that mouth of yours. And the Blackbeard Pirates say, ha ha ha, right now we're literally fighting the guy who killed Big Mom. If the old legends just laid around taking up space, then how can the era ever progress? So yeah, we talked about this yesterday, and she is saying that if she was still alive, and I don't know if this is like necessarily confirming that Big Mom is 100% officially dead. Like, I don't know if Pudding has a Weaver card that she can confirm with. It was never shown before, and I don't think it's being shown in this chapter either. So either she's kind of just saying that, or this is Oda confirming it. But this is One Piece after all, and it's really hard for characters to die, so I really wouldn't be surprised if Big Mom ultimately comes back, but I would be cool if she was dead too. Aki Inu says that they should wait to see what happens with the battle between Law and Teach before acting, and that being the fleet admiral is very frustrating. So yeah, we went over this yesterday as well, and it's like, how does Aki Inu know that Blackbeard is fighting Law right now? Long story short, my theory is that Kuzan and Aki Inu are both a part of Sword, and that Kuzan is currently undercover, you know, infiltrating the Blackbeard Pirates and feeding information to Aki Inu. Bonnie used her power on the group. She's now a kid. Jinbei also becomes a child, like the SBS version. Chopper is old and Luffy is 70 years old. So yeah, this is picking up from the previous chapter where Bonnie was like freaking out when Luffy and them were about to attack the police pacifista Kuma thing. And she was like, no, that's my daddy. And I guess this is her like using her powers in response to that. And apparently we're seeing Jinbei like the SBS Kid version, and then old Chopper, and then old Luffy of a certain future version. But Luffy has like longer hair in this chapter. He looks kind of funny. So let's go more into dialogue of this sequence. The pacifista has stopped moving and looking for Luffy and the rest because they've changed their appearance. Jinbei says that Kuma was the evil king of the Sorbet Kingdom who was expelled by his people and became a pirate. Kuma then joined the Revolutionary Army and was arrested by the Navy and sentenced to death. However, Vegapunk was impressed by his physical strength, and in exchange for being able to experiment on him and make clones, they allowed Kuma to return to sea as one of the members of the Warlords. Bonnie says that she understands that he participated in the clone project, for that he was a warlord, but that turning him into a cyborg was the same as a death sentence. Bonnie says that her father was not a tyrant and that he hated the world government, and that there was no way that her father would work with them, that they must have forced him somehow. Bonnie says that Kuma told her that he belonged to a special race, and that's no reason for them to experiment on him like they did. Luffy agrees with her. Chopper wonders, a special race? So yeah, this is a big reveal on Kuma here. First of all, we're like getting more into his whole evil tyrant stuff, which I think Perona initially talked about. And as we got more into Kuma's character as the story went on, we realized that like, okay, that's probably BS. He's not really an evil guy. So it seems like this was more lies and propaganda by the world government, because that's nothing new to them. And it probably goes more into his special race here, because we saw that they took out all of the Lunarians. So he's probably like a similar race to them. Like he may or may not come from space or whatever. We saw that Kaido and King, you know, a Lunarian, was being experimented on. Pretty sure Vegapunk, or at least one of his laboratories as well. So this fits into Vegapunk's whole thing as well, and why he's so interested in Kuma, as we've seen. But now we're going over to the other group and what's going on with the Vegapunk Shaka, the Punk One. Usopp's group arrives at lab phase on Egghead. Lilith tells them that they need to change before entering. Sanji wears a Hawaiian shirt like Jinbei. All the others have futuristic outfits. Vegapunk Lilith says that Vega Force 1 uses the engine on its back as a propellant and an anti-gravity device to fly. Frankie freaks out. Unfortunately, the Vega Force 1 only works on Egghead because of its special atmospheric conditions. Their goal is to make it usable anywhere. Okay, so that's big, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the next upgrade for the Straw Hats. Probably Frankie as well. Like, we're probably going to see Frankie flying, like, you know, freely after this arc or at the end of it or whatever. But I also think it would be pretty cool if he applied this to the Sunny. I mean, obviously you can kind of like lie already with the Kude burst, but it's possible that he might eventually just get it to the point of where it can just straight up fly, the way that Uranus is speculated to be able to. I mean, that would kind of defeat the purpose of, you know, being a pirate on the sea and everything, but you know, this series isn't really that traditional anyway. The Egghead laboratory, called Lab Phase, is above the clouds. On the ground is the Faverio Phase, which is the area where the workers and researchers live. The clouds are the same as those of Skypiea, both the land and clouds and the sea of clouds. Frankie is amazed, and this is the first time he has ever seen them. So now we're going into the final sequence of this chapter, and somehow Vegapunk is talking to Dragon, Luffy's dad, leader of the Revolutionary Army. But it's the Vegapunk #1 Shaka. And he says, being a genius also means that you can see your own future. And Dragon says, what do you mean, Vegapunk? And Vegapunk Shaka says, I will probably die soon. Dragon's like, that's not funny. Don't make jokes with things like that. And Vegapunk Shaka says, I just want you to know that, Dragon. So that's a huge, big bombshell here. Vegapunk knows Dragon, and it seems like they've known each other for a while because they're pretty cordial here. And it's kind of understandable because he was interested in Kuma, and maybe that's how he got to Dragon, because, you know, Kuma being part of the Revolutionary Army and everything. But it's also possible it goes back before that, like maybe when Vegapunk was in Mads, that's when he started to become affiliated with Dragon, possibly. Or Kuma was a part of Mads or something like that. Or Dragon was, probably not. But another thing that Vegapunk talked about here with he might die soon, it's because CP0, obviously we found out that they're after him right now. They're going to take out all of the Vegapunks because apparently he knows too much. And it also might be tied to the whole Lelougia Kingdom being wiped out by Emu. Maybe Vegapunk does know that it was Uranus, and maybe he can reverse engineer engineered or something, or already has. But also maybe they know that he is talking to Dragon and the Revolutionary Army here, possibly. But the fact that Vegapunk is talking about dying, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually does. Like, he gives the Straw Hats and the audience like super valuable exposition, gives Frankie everything he needs, and then he just winds up dying. After, shortly after being revealed. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought about this chapter. Really, really strong chapter here. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.